Hey guys, I'm Azra, and in this Lord of the Rings Rise to War video, I'm going to show you a commander tier list of all evil commanders. And just like in my good commander tier list, I'm going to apply the same rules. Like, I have tried to consider a more objective standpoint, like I'm not only fighting good side, also evil side, but me playing on a role-playing server, this list is more heavy evil side versus good side. So that is the first rule, and the second rule is whenever I place a commander into the respective tier, the further to the left I place a commander, the stronger I consider this commander to be in comparison to the commander sitting right next to it to the right. So let's say if I were to place Azog here and Meltok here, I consider Azog stronger than Maltok. Alright, let's place these guys back and let's get started. So, here we have Azog, and I kinda like this guy since he isn't hard to unlock and could be your first damage dealing commander for evil side, who is dealing a good amount of damage by himself. You can make do with him until you get something better like Lords or the Shadow, but for the time being, I'm going to place him over here to the good category. Now, looking at Maltok, my judgment is going to be quick. He is a weak commander and not worth using in my opinion, so let's place him over here. Moving forward to Khamûl. So, this commander was for me my first T2 commander, and I had plenty of time discovering his 3 playstyle. I must admit that I really enjoyed playing him in the first 2 seasons, since not everybody had figured out how to counter Alchemist, but this unfortunately is also his weakness. He can be countered by fire protection mechanics, which I consider his strongest build. Don't get me wrong, I do like what Khamûl is capable of, but there are much better commanders if it comes to elemental damage. For now, I have to put him into the good tier. Let's continue with Khaldun. I really like this commander, and there is a reason for it. Being a starter commander, you immediately have access to Khaldun, who is a blessing for every evil side player. He's not just only boosting his army's offensive power, but also ensures that his army is protected with lots of damage mitigation, especially against physical damage. And guess what? Good side is relying a lot on physical damage. In case you need to cover elemental damage, you can close that gap with the respective chess piece, and you are good to go against all commanders. You can even go toe-to-toe with many T3 commanders, and I think, for all the reasons mentioned, I gotta consider him OP. Glasha, frankly I have no idea how this commander can be any good. I have checked out her skills and theory crafted a bit, just to decide that I consider her weak. Maybe I am wrong, but yeah, this is where I would see her right now. If it comes to Ukthak, we can quickly establish that he isn't competitive enough, so I have to put him into the weak tier. The Shadow is an amazing commander. Now let me explain. The Shadow has various ways of dealing damage. He can deal 3 types of damage in total, being physical, poison, and focus damage. Now this comes in handy, since now you can always change your playstyle depending on what commander you are fighting against. Imagine if you're fighting someone with high alert, it would be a waste to stay in your elemental damage build, which is why you have the luxury to switch back to your physical damage build and vice versa whenever need be. Imagine you are fighting mounted unit commanders such as Theoden or Eomer. In that case, I would switch to my poison build and just quickly get rid of all those hard to conscript horses and burn a hole into my enemy's economy. I must admit that the Shadow is relying a lot on good gear, but once your heavy investment is done, he will start to shine and be versatile enough to adjust to many situations. Furthermore, if you are wondering in which T2 commander to commit, for me the answer is the Shadow. I like him even more than Lords because of his versatility and his outstandingly good R10 item. If I had to choose a Respect 10 item among the T2 commanders, I would definitely go with the Shadows item. I think he deserves a spot over here in the strong category. Now let's have a look at Lords. He is among the best T2 commanders and is dealing tons of damage and is a force to be reckoned with. As long as you have a tanky frontline, he will do the job right. Muma kills, for example, are making him a nightmare. But the downside is that Lords in general is an expansive commander in regards to his economy. Nevertheless, he is strong and definitely deserves a place over here in strong tier. Shagrat just isn't strong enough, let's just put him over here and be done with him. Ugluk, well, I can definitely say that he is weak, but at least he isn't weak as Shagrat and co. I see that he has some retaliate potential, which is why I'm going to put him into the average tier. But you might argue, what good is there in having a retaliate build against good side? Once good side has ranged compositions, you are pretty much screwed, even in your retaliate build. But yeah, keep that in mind. Now here we have Skullhelm. And right off the bat, I must admit that I haven't really seen any reports with her yet. Just by theory crafting, I assume that she is at least an average tier, since she has a strong normal attack mechanic for all 10 rounds. I can imagine that she has some potential we still haven't discovered yet, but for the time being I would like to put her over here. Please take this with a grain of salt. Grimar is a commander who I believe is very solid. He has a strong madness mechanic, not just against the enemy army but also against the enemy commander, while also making sure that the enemy receives more damage when affected by madness. This combination of skills is something only Grimar and Sauron have. Isildur, for instance, doesn't even have the skill which increases damage received whenever affected by madness. On top of that, Grimar is also boosting the survivability of your units with evade, for instance. For me, he is at least in the strong tier. Grishnak, well, long story short, I think we all can agree that he is weak, and let's just put him immediately over here. Gothmog. Now we are talking. This commander brings so much joy when playing him. He is already viable at respect 0 and just gets better the more respect he has. All of his skills just make sense, be it damage mitigation or damage boost for his army. He has it all. On top of that, he has various playstyles, be it with elemental or physical damage. You can't go wrong when you push the respect level of Gothmog. There is no end to it. The higher it is, the stronger he gets. So I have to put this guy over here in the OP tier. Looking at Azra core, I do like that he has a strong army madness mechanic, which can cause a lot of chaos, but nowadays all have madness immunity, which is a hardcore counter against Azra core. Azra core's madness isn't just like Grimar's or Sauron's, like where you can give madness to the commander and the army. He has only army madness, and I think that is making him automatically much weaker than Grimar. In addition to that, he does have a much better build, which revolves around ranged units only, but unfortunately, Evil Side doesn't really have good ranged units to complement that build. Nevertheless, I still consider him to be an average commander. Moving forward to the Undying. I have mixed feelings about this commander. He was my very first T3 commander in the game, who I unlocked in Season 2, and I had plenty of time experimenting with him. I must say that so many players still haven't figured out how to play and gear him. But I'm also aware that his high damage mitigation, paired with his delayed burst damage playstyle, is making him an outstanding commander who can go toe-to-toe with many army boosting commanders in the game, as long as you give him the right gear, build, and troop composition. Unfortunately, many people fail to do so, which is why he has a bad image. I can only highly recommend checking out my guide about him. On one side, the Undying can be a hardcore counter against Gil-galad and Gandalf the Grey, for instance. But on the other side, his biggest weakness is that he is vulnerable against high commander damage, such as Dain, Dwalin, Gimli, Legolas, and so on. But after having tried him out with Fellbeast in one of my videos, I have come to realize that he is doing a decent job even against high commander damage. Nevertheless, there is a point that really bugs me about the Undying. His upper Respect 0 and his Respect 3 title aren't really synergizing with the rest of his skills, which makes me believe that it isn't worth bringing him all the way up to Respect 25. But for the time being, I'm going to place him over here in OP tier, since this guy is countering a lot of meta commanders such as Gilgalad or Theoden. And here is Sharku. Let's make this quick and painless. He is nothing special and we can just immediately put him into the weak category. Saruman. I do believe that he has a strong retaliate build which is going to destroy melee army comps, but when you are fighting against good side, you can't hold your ground against an army which consists of melee and ranged units, since that is a direct counter against his retaliate build. Alternatively, you can play him in his Respect 3 and bottom R0 build and still be viable against both factions. In the end, I consider him to be OP tier. The Mouth of Sauron is a commander who is a perfect counter against all convener commanders. His playstyle isn't about bursting an enemy, but surviving, which he is doing well and has even earned the title King of Draw. And for that reason, I'm going to put him into the strong commander category. Sauron. Now here we have a commander who has it all. I really can't complain about him. I consider him to be among the strongest commanders in the game. His unique feature is that he basically is capable of countering every commander in the game as long as he switches his build in accordance to the enemy commander. Furthermore, once you get his Respect 10 item unlocked and fully strengthen and refine it, he becomes an absolute beast. I consider his Respect 10 item the strongest one on evil side, and if I had the resources, I would definitely spend everything I have to max that item out. On top of that, all of his skills are just so good that you can push him all the way up to Respect 25 without any feelings of regret. There is no doubt that Sauron for sure is an OP tier. Let's move on to the Witch King. I have mixed feelings about him. So on one side, he is getting hardcore countered by High Alert, Warrior of Lonely Mountain or Fire Protection. But on the other side, whenever a commander doesn't bring those skills to a fight, the enemy army is getting completely wiped out, and for that reason I consider him OP. The Black Serpent. So this commander is among the best commanders in my opinion in the game. As soon as you have him at Respect 3, he becomes competitive, but once you unlock his Respect 5 title, that's where he becomes an absolute unit. His Evil Man paired with Muma kills are scaring so many strong commanders away. Give Black Serpent the right gear, pair him with Evil Man, give him some Muma kills, and you will become an absolute nightmare. I consider him even stronger than the Witch King, since he can't be countered by High Alert. In fact, he himself has High Alert, a skill that no other evil side commander has. That means that Black Serpent is also covering all elemental weaknesses, which is amazing. Without a doubt, Black Serpent is OP. Here we have Zagrid, and I think that Zagrid is dealing a decent amount of damage, but unfortunately it's not enough compared to Lords and the Shadow, which is why I have to place him over here in the good category. Right over here. Looking at Adune, I can only say that she has some interesting skills, but they aren't competitive enough in comparison to the other meta commanders at the top in this list, which is why I have to give her the rating average. Speaking of meta commanders, here we have Kirun, and I must admit that once he has his Respect 10 item unlocked and 5 times refined, he becomes an absolute unit with Evil Man. On top of that, when you give him the Giant Hammer as a weapon with the special effect Frenzy, his healing potential with his upper Respect 0 title gets insane. Let's not forget that he is also applying double the amount of debuffs with Frenzy proccing his Easterling title. That is insanely broken. But he also has a lot of damage mitigation and can choose between 2 playstyles at low Respect level. Do you want to go the route with damage mitigation and healing, or damage mitigation and damage boost? The more Respect Kirun gets, the stronger he becomes. And the good thing about him is that he can't be countered by elemental damage mitigation, since his damage relies more on physical damage anyway. He definitely deserves a place among the top tier commanders. Gorbak! Now, I can't complain about Gorbak. For a T1 commander, he is bringing a lot of useful skills to the fight. Gorbak is fighting with nothing but orcs in his army, in which he really shines. By maxing out his Respect 5 title, all of his orc units become automatically immune to madness for the whole fight. And this is insane. No other commander provides this kind of immunity against madness. That means that Gorbak just needs to take care of stun immunity for his orc units, which he totally can, by the way, with the Warhelm and the special effect Resolve of Orcs. Once he has done that, he has covered 2 of his biggest weaknesses and is good to go on a rampage. Furthermore, he has huge damage mitigation as well as lots of damage boost for his army in his skill set. Last but not least, his R10 item is just perfect for him and you won't regret investing into it if you have decided to main Gorbak anyway. All of these reasons are already enough for me to bring him all the way up to OP tier. I truly believe that he deserves this place, and I think that he's even better than Saruman. Beruthiel is a commander I just couldn't figure out, but as of now, I must consider her weak, until someone proves me I'm wrong. So here she goes. Korwan. It was really hard to decide where to place Korwan exactly, since that guy is a two-edged sword. What I mean by that is, against good side, he does have some good reports that prove how viable he is, but against evil side, he is just completely useless. Speaking from an RP point, you may get some use out of Korwan, but I wouldn't rely too much on him because of the one-sided fighting style he has. I will place him among the good commanders. Kestaro. Now what do I do with Kestaro? He's a commander who relies a lot on focus damage, and that alone can be a big weakness, since good side has high alert and easy to access quilted armor with focus protection. And that alone is a hardcore counter against Kestaro. On top of that, he is relying a lot on undead units in his army, which are already hard to obtain, and these 2 reasons alone let me think that Kestaro isn't competitive enough and deserves a place in good tier. LOTR. Now, LOTR lets me believe that he kinda is an unpolished diamond who has a lot of potential, but still isn't discovered. I really believe that he has lots to offer with his high commander damage and his unique army composition consisting of Reapers and Fallen. The only downside is that Fallen are Angmar exclusive units, which is basically locking LOTR to always go with that faction, or at least join a campaign where Fallen are available for all evil side players, like in Season 4. But in the end, I do believe that he has some potential, and I consider him a good commander. Right over here. Now, what I'm about to do may surprise many of you, but I'm totally serious when I take Yusra here and put her all the way up over here at the top. Yes, you are seeing right. I consider Yusra amazingly strong, since once you get a Respect 10 item and refine it 5 times, that is where Yusra starts to shine. By doing that, she basically gets the skill Convener, but instead of lasting only 2 rounds, her Convener lasts for 3 rounds for all evil man units and has a chance of 90% of proccing, which is even higher than that of Convener. I just couldn't believe how many whale players we needed to kill a high respect level Yusra with her Respect 10 item maxed out. Only in a coordinated attack where 3 to 5 people hit her at once, we could bring her down. For me, she is almost the strongest commander on evil side if it wasn't for Sunint. The power of Sunint is so unbelievable that she is able to kill commanders who are level 50 even when she herself is only level 35. It is hard to counter her since she is buffing the damage of her units immensely. On top of that, she isn't relying on elemental damage, thus we can't mitigate her damage. But she isn't just brokenly strong. In addition to that, her army composition is very economy friendly, which is why You can't fight all day long dealing max damage to the enemy's economy with Sunint. And the more respect she gets, she just keeps getting stronger. So there is no limit in investing in her. Last but not least, she has 3 builds that work very well for different situations and makes her outstandingly versatile. For me, Sunint is the strongest commander on Evil's side, and her power is still unmatched. So here you go, guys. This is my personal opinion, my perception of Evil side commanders. I may be wrong, maybe I'm right. In case I am wrong, please let me know in the comment section below. Don't just tell me that I am wrong. Also explain to me why you think I'm wrong. But yeah, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like and consider subscribing. I see you guys next time.